Hello, MennoNerds. Here I am again in my car, and this time I am not driving. I'm sitting still, so you guys won't have to worry about anything. I've got a number of things I would like to say today, so let's get cracking. Well, let's first of all start off with something new on my face. Yes, it is definitely new. I am increasing my nerd cred by getting glasses, and not just any glasses, these are progressive lenses, so now I am a progressive Anabaptist! No, wait, never mind. Any case, I would like to start off first of all with answering folks about the challenge that I gave out, about my being over time last time. I will get to that. I really like the idea about, retelling The Force Awakens using nothing but Bible characters. That's just going to take a little bit of work and a little bit of time, so give me a bit, and I will get back to you on that one. Secondly, I would like to push back a little bit on Deborah's video. I really enjoyed what she said about the people that inspired her, the women who inspired her in theology and that particular perspective on things, but I would really like to push back to her to really answer Will's question. He was looking, I think, if I am not correct, Will, please correct me, I think he's looking for making sure that we have some way of being able to look at the overall story, the historical story of God based upon Scripture as to a people, a story, and a passage that you think would really be necessary to pass on to your kids. So, while I enjoy the stories and the things that you had to say about your women theologians in your past, I really would like to push back and say, let's take a look at some Bible stories as well. And on to the communion conversation. Now, this is the one that I did not answer last time, so I'm going to take a few minutes to answer this communion conversation. First of all, I really appreciate everything that's been said so far. Paul made a great analysis of the different perspectives on communion, transubstantiation, and all that kind of fun stuff. All those big theological words. Whee! And I really also enjoyed what Michael had to say about the eating a meal with Jesus and making sure that Jesus is involved in the meal. And that bread and wine possibly may not be necessary and some other things like that. It was very good videos, but I would like to push back on a couple of things. First of all, Paul, I think, is correct in that we need to make sure that somewhere in there we are connected to the larger story of Christianity. To just sit down and have a meal together and say, hey, that's communion, without making mention that this is a point in reference, pointing back in history, pointing back to a particular time when Jesus sat down with his friends and shared a meal together in communion and community, sharing a oneness of spirit and body together in one place. I think we do need to have that nod somewhere, somehow, and by using bread and wine, that does make that connection. However, I think it could go too far. I think we can make it a legalistic thing. I think even baptism and communion and all the other things that we do as rituals can be very legalistic. You're not a good Christian if you're not baptized. You're not a good Christian if you don't do communion. You're not a good Christian if you don't do this. You know who that sounds like? I'll tell you who that sounds like. Pharisees. You're not a good Jew if you don't wash your hands before you eat. You're not a good Jew if you don't do this. You're not a good Jew if you don't do that. You're not a good Jew if you do this, and on and on and on. We have to be very careful that we don't end up with the same kind of Pharisaical nonsense where we put rituals, processes, procedures, ideas, and things like that ahead of the community of Christ and ahead of the universal law of love. If they are following Jesus, if they are loving God, if they are loving others, if they are trying to make disciples, then why does it matter? I think that really ultimately is the question that we need to answer. Why does it matter? Now, if they are doing all these things, then we do need to retell those stories of the past. We are a theology and a religion of stories and history. Let's not forget our stories and history, but let's also not become Pharisees in the process. Thank you.